You have a new computer.
I have a new Mac. Yeah, I have a new Mac that is compatible with your technology.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't think people realize one of the reasons we hesitate with having guests is that it feels easy to have a good sound, but it's a bit trickier than it looks. The Wi-Fi, most people think, especially big corporates, they think, yeah, we have a great Wi-Fi. Yeah, but you have 1,000 people using it at the same time.
I know.
And most people actually do not see how they think they have a good Wi-Fi because they can watch Netflix. But then they don't see how they look on the other end. The upload is not always great. So it's a bit of a tricky situation. And I want to be as easy. I don't want to impose people to buy a microphone or something. I always try to find.
According to this measurement, it should be good, but I don't know how is it.
I see you really, really well. So
Okay,
I'm
very
very happy that you're here and very happy that we can do this together. So yeah, it's a redo, not a redo, because obviously this is a new episode, but this is an opportunity for you because you were unhappy about how you sounded last time.
Exactly. I only have like a second chance to prove that I actually don't sound like I sounded last time, right?
Yeah. Actually, Alex, not you. This is great because this time it's not going to be confusing because I have only one Alex in front of me. I don't have to juggle with two Alexes and not knowing which one I want to address, or you not knowing which one I'm addressing. So
very easy.
Last time Alex also had issues with his Zoom because we did that on Zoom last time. So yeah.
Did we start already, Paul?
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. What I do, so yeah, let's. There's not a secret. What I do is Alex has the same issue. My Alex.
Your Alex.
I record. It doesn't mean that everything gets in.
Yeah,
but I record, and at some point I decide, okay, this is the start of the episode. So that's the only bit I really, truly edit. So yeah, this is how I do it. I know it takes people by surprise. As for the rest, I mean, you've done that already. So I guess the only thing you need is this.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
So yes, guys, you see, this is still not Alex, but I found a replacement Alex.
It's another Alex. It's not your Alex, but it's Alex.
Yeah, so as I said, no confusion for me. So that's great. I want to point out two things, but you don't know either, actually. First is my Alex is coming back at some point. I want to make that clear because people will think that he's on a break, meaning he's going to be away for a year. No, it's not the case. He's not in the middle of the Alaska doing some race or in Ushuaia doing some race either. I don't know. He's just needs a few weeks and he'll be back. And the other thing that, Alex, you this time don't know, there is an episode actually getting released today that you haven't heard. So it's a bit awkward for you because you don't have the context of the previous episode.
Yeah, it is awkward. Thank you very much for making it awkward for me.
No, but there's nothing too special to be revealed besides the fact that, so we're recording this, I will say it, I always say it, since Mathieu told us you need to tell the date, so I've kept my promise, the 23rd of April, 2024. My God, 4 years after COVID. Can you believe this?
No.
No, right? The only context for you is I'm going to talk a little bit about Etihad in Abu Dhabi, as I told you before so when we were preparing this podcast, and that was part of the trip that led me to Southeast Asia, which I described in the episode that you haven't listened to.
Okay.
But otherwise, you don't need any more context. So yeah. You guys are like, why is he Paul on about? I've already listened to this thing 3 weeks ago. Yeah, because that was released today. Yeah, timelines don't make sense. It's a bit of a time warp. Two more things, and then we'll start with you, and I'll put the music. My previous guest, Paolo, because I need to preempt this. There's no link, unlike what I'm going to, because this, the Alex in front of me, I got it right this time. Avix Alex and not Avi Alex.
Thank you very much. Finally, after 6 years, 7 years that I follow you on Instagram and occasionally send you some DMs, you finally got it right.
Yes, exactly. I'm so sorry. You're right. For more than 100 episodes, every time I would actually mention you, I would say Avi Alex, at Avix Alex. There you go, guys, if you want to follow her. My previous co-host, Paolo, whom you've heard already by the time of the recording, only Alex in front of me hasn't, has no social media because he's a smart person. He doesn't want to be bothered with social media. That's the reason, because I know people will ask me, that's the reason there's no link about him on the show notes and we don't mention him, is because he has this life which is way more quieter, doesn't have to deal with all the shit that comes with social media. And I want to make a quick shout out to a couple of friends. Shout out to Bertrand. I know he's listening. And I'm thinking of you and your better half. And I love you so much, guys. That's it. So let's play the music for Genk and I, and then we'll go with the actual show with my friend Alex. Last time I had an issue, so I hope this time it works. Let's press the button.
So cool listening to this song when you are actually a guest and not just a listener of a podcast. Like, it's a brilliant feeling.
Oh, that's very nice to say. Thank you so much. So cheers to flying, and flying is my life. This is on talking about Instagram. That was one of your Instagram stories a few weeks ago. So do you want to, maybe let's give you the chance. Do you want to introduce yourself again for people? Because maybe they haven't heard the other episodes, so you might as well just reintroduce yourself for everyone.
Yeah. My name is Alex. I am aviation industry professional. That's the boring headline that I can give. The more exciting headline probably is serial aviation geek.
Love that.
Yeah, or passenger with an opinion. Exactly as I said in my post a few weeks ago, my life is all about flying. So yeah, and very excited to be back again on this show.
Thank you.
As I said last time, it's my favorite aviation podcast, so it's an honor for me to be here again.
And you do have as well a podcast. We might mention that as well. I got scolded by a lot of listeners because I said the name, but I didn't put the actual link in the show notes, and then I put it back later. So put it out there again once more, the name of your podcast and where to listen to it.
Super. It's called Sky Lounge. And if you can put a link, that would be really handy, because I told last time that we had a little mess up with the creation of this podcast. While we were thinking about the name, someone already had taken this name. So actually there are two Sky Lounges. So the one that I'm co-hosting is Sky Lounge with David and Alex. I don't know the other one, but most probably it's not David and Alex.
Yeah, well, hopefully so. You never know. But
hopefully so.
I listen to yours. I don't listen to the other one, so I don't. How many episodes are you in right now? You do like a monthly thing, I think, right?
Yeah, we do monthly. 10, maybe 11.
Nice. The more podcasts, the more aviation podcasts, the happier I get. Have you heard? There's another one talking. I'm free publicity, but this is not a podcast where I or Alex make any money. It's just because we love aviation. Have you heard the new the Air Show?
It's called the Air Show?
Yeah, it's John Ostrower, Cranky Flyer, and Brian Summers. They decided to go together. They made it's more like a business analytical type of podcast, but it's very good. I listened to a few episodes. It's called the Air Show. You can find it, like all these podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcast is closing down, so it's going to be YouTube, I guess, soon enough. And they talk about the business of the sky. So they really they do a pretty good job at this, and it's like 30 minutes, so unlike my podcast, it goes on for 2 hours. And it's also, I think, weekly, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're someone like Alex that loves listening to everything aviation, I think it's a good bet. But first, you listen to Sky Lounge with David and Alex, and that Alex and David, or David and Alex. In which order did you put?
There is no special order, to be honest. I know, like for you, it's Paul and Alex. Like it's not like Alex and Paul; it's Paul and Alex.
I know. It was a stupid thing at the beginning, and then the SEO, I kept it like that. So yeah, no, actually, it's not even in the notes anymore. I don't know, maybe because it's anyway. That's besides the point. I'm just babbling.
But anyway, this time it's again Paul and Alex.
No, it's Alex and Paul because I'm a gentleman, so you need to go first.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to talk about a few things today. I mean, we talked last time about some of your contacts. You already did your favorite flights and stuff, but we'll go a little bit more because you keep flying fun stuff. And we'll start right away with one because, as I said earlier in the show, I'm going to describe my Etihad flight to Abu Dhabi and Abu Dhabi Airport. I know a lot of our listeners a lot, and maybe not, no one actually, is expecting me to talk about that airport when I thought about it. But because I like to change every time, it's not me starting, I want to have you, and I'm going to put you on the spot, describing, of all the travels that you've done, the one that really caught my eye, that I wanted to know more about, is BeOnd. Not only because I love the livery of that aircraft, you can describe it, by the way, or not, but also because it's one of these very specific new type of airlines that tries to do one thing and one thing well. So is it a cool airline, and do they do that one thing well? So maybe describe what it is first for the people who don't know about BeOnd.
BeOnd is a new all business class airline. So you talked was it half a year or so about La Compagnie?
Yeah, I flew that in November, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a similar business model. They are flying to Maldives, so it's Maldivian-based airline. They are flying to Maldives. Currently, they fly from Zurich, Munich. I think they just started Milan route as well. Delivery is very cool, as you said. I encourage everyone to Google, because it's very posh. I think that's the right word to describe it, right? It's it's very just cool.
Yeah, it exudes a bit of luxury, but not too ostentatious. It's kind of black.
Not too much.
Yeah. Is it black or dark blue or something like that, right?
Black. It's black. It's black, but then BeOnd is written in gold.
There you go.
There you go. You need a little bit sprinkles of luxury. On board there are maybe I knew exactly how many seats there are, but I forgot. Around 50. Yeah, around 50 seats. So it's 2-2.
It's a 319, right? It's not a big aircraft.
Correct. All EasyJets.
Is it an old EasyJet? Is it actually an old EasyJet?
Yeah. All EasyJet. So these planes are 20-something years old.
Wow. But they only have one, I think. That's what I read. Maybe it's changed now because I read when they launched.
Maybe two now, but yeah. But yeah, you're right. It's been one for a really long time. They have 321s Neo on order.
Yeah, and XLRs as well.
Exactly. XLRs, exactly.
But not yet. So that's on order, yeah. But currently they're still working with these old EasyJets. Wow, I had no idea.
but you never would imagine or expect this plane to be old EasyJet. I mean, you know how airlines do a really good job with refurbishing and making it really look new. So when you enter, and I knew it's old EasyJet. So I was really hoping that I could see some spots of EasyJet on board. Nothing.
A bit of the orange paint somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing. It looks like a brand new plane. And the cabin itself is very beautiful as well. Very, very classic. It's white and black and golden. So I think it matches the livery and the style of the airline. Because it's 319, they have to make a stop at Dubai at the moment. So I flew Zurich to Dubai, Dubai to Male.
Oh, there you go. Because I didn't want to interrupt you earlier, and I have a bad habit of interrupting all our guests, including my own Alex.
Okay, you can interrupt me anytime.
I was under the impression that they were flying from or to Dubai. When you said Milan, Zurich, I was like, okay, I thought it was. Oh, so they do a stopover. Do they also grab passengers? Do they have a fifth freedom, or they just stop?
No, they also actually have a route from Dubai to Malé that they started recently, and I think from Saudi, from Riyadh as well. But on all European routes currently, because just the range of 319 is not enough to make it in one shot, 11 hours, 12 hours. So they have to make a stop. And so I flew from Zurich. It was around 10 p.m. departure, 5 or 6 hours to Dubai, but not DXB, DWC.
Oh, nice. So do they, since they're refueling, do they ask you to step off the aircraft whilst you're refueling or not?
No. You can enjoy your coffee or another drink on board.
Yeah, but that means that you didn't enjoy DWC. You haven't seen it then.
I've seen it from my
outside,
from my window, from outside. I've seen lots of Russian airplanes.
Yeah, that's where they fly.
All of them are there.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I really would like to just get out and have some fresh. If air was really fresh, I think it was quite hot already, but still get some air. But I couldn't, like, because we had to stay on board and just observe.
It's maybe for also visa issues, or because you could stay in the clear, in the airside part of the airport. Because I always wondered, I mean, neither of us maybe answer the question. It's maybe just an airline policy or an airport policy, because in some of the layovers I've done like this, when you keep going, when there was refueling, I had to step off. And the only time there was... I'll tell the story. I think I've already told the story, but that's a fun one. I was flying from Singapore to Colombo to Dubai with Emirates. Or was it from Singapore, or was it from, maybe Singapore, maybe Bangkok. It doesn't really matter. You know what? It was a cheaper flight, because instead of going direct, I was going with a stopover in Sri Lanka in Colombo, and I was in first class, and I'm sleeping, and I'm like totally sleeping. And we landed, and they didn't even ask me. I don't know what the hell happened.
Really?
But anyway, I remember kind of waking up. I'm in my pajamas of Emirates, right? And I'm hearing vacuum cleaning. And I'm like, what's going on? And did they forget me in the aircraft? And actually, they had asked the entire aircraft to step off. But probably because I was in first, they didn't want to bother me. When I opened, the Emirates First has these doors. They were the cleaning crew, with the high-vis yellow jackets doing the cleaning of the aircraft. And I was like, what am I doing here? There was not a single staff around. It was very weird. Anyway, that's just an anecdote. I don't remember the exact circumstances of why I was left there, but they didn't forget about me. But to the point that maybe some of our listeners can answer that, is there a policy? I know we have a lot of flight attendants, pilots listening to this. Maybe you can write to us and let us know is there a specific policy by airline or by airport about people leaving the aircraft? So were you able to drink whilst you were on the ground at Etihad?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I think like the worst part about this stop was that actually it was a night flight, right? So many people and we had like a really nice dinner. So dinner took time. So literally we had few hours to sleep only, and then we had to wake up because we had to sit down. So I'm actually surprised that Emirates didn't wake you up for a sitting position, because that's actually what they should have done.
No, I was probably seated, but I was, because, it's a bit the opposite what you did. You only have 4 hours from Dubai to Male. But for me, I think from Bangkok, was it either Bangkok or Singapore to Colombo, it's only 3.5 hours. So I was probably sitting correctly, just I went to sleep. Okay. No, don't worry. I was not going to lie down.
I thought you were sleeping in your first class bed and no one even bothered to wake you up for landing.
They probably had woken me up and then I fell again asleep because one of these trips when I was completely jet lagged. So I might have even had my... I don't. Yeah, exactly. No, so was it a long layover or a short?
No, it was very quick. So that might be also the reason why they didn't let anyone out. It was 50 minutes to 1 hour max. Very quick. They had a crew change as well in Dubai. So entire crew set has been changed. Okay. We've got a female pilot flying us from Dubai to Male, which I always appreciate, being a woman myself. And then from Dubai to Male, it was 4.5 hours. Yeah. And we had a second meal service, which actually I regretted having because it was really way too much food. We already ate a lot on the way from Zurich to Dubai, and the portions that they serve, first of all, food is great. Food is amazing, but portions are really big. It's a restaurant size portions. It's not airplane size portions. A lot of food.
You're not used to fly business class, that's why you say that. No, I want to mention, because that's where you put a lot of your news. On LinkedIn, you put a post about many, aspects of flying and avgeekery, and you had put 3 months ago, because this flight was about 3 month ago, if I remember correctly.
In January. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. And you had put a mosaic of pictures, including indeed at least one, maybe two picture of the food, and the plate was pretty full. Let's put it that way.
The plate was really full. Honestly, I never flown first, but I flew a few business class, different products. I never seen such big portions. They're really big. And the cheese plate. Later I showed a picture to my friend. I said, that's a cheese plate. And my friend said, is it like a cheese board, or I can't call it cheese plate because it's like so huge, so massive.
That, to your point, it's true that this resembles what you get in a first class. Because at least, I remember on the picture, you had at least 4 or 5 type of cheeses, and it was pretty... The plate was again full with cheese and a few crackers, I think, if I remember correctly. Because, by the way, it's not that I have a 3-month memory, that I looked at a picture probably earlier this week or last week. And that's the most probably what you would expect in a first class service on a full carrier, maybe not in business class. So so they're generous. That's good.
They're generous. And everything, the service was really good. Food was great. The feeling was very unique. I never flew on a private jet. I never flew all business class airline. So for me, like, boarding was the quickest I ever had. It's like 7 minutes, everyone on board. There is no like, Hunger Games fighting for where to put suitcase and all of this. Everyone is calm. And even in Zurich, in the lounge, they come and pick you up, and the entire lounge, everyone there was flying that specific flight. So we, as a group, we assembled like a school trip, and we went together to the airplane.
Which lounge was in Zurich? Can you remember?
Aspire first.
Yes, Aspire. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, that's cool. Wow.
It's very small. It's very boutique. So we've taken the entire.
Yeah, I was about to say that's good, because since you're not going to be a lot of passengers anyway in a 319, especially in a full business class configuration, it's enough to get like a small lounge. That's very similar. The aircraft is very similar to what I've experienced with La Compagnie. Yeah. I cannot remember for the life of me which episode it was, but guys, you can just Google it up if you haven't listened to it. I might actually fly La Compagnie again later this year. I'm not sure yet. I would say, however, from the looks of it, right, from just the pictures, because I've flown in only one and not the one I've just seen your pictures, the one that you've flown looks a bit more, trying to be more luxurious in the colors they've chosen. And by the way, you say gold, but it's not, the seats are more like sand, and it's not like overly gold. It's not Emirates, where the previous Emirates, because now Emirates is refurbishing, trying to be a little bit less ostentatious. It's quite subtle, and it's quite, it feels like a very nice car or something, I mean, I'm not into cars, but it really feels nice from the pictures you post. Was the flight full?
No, not really. Maybe like 50% full. Yeah. But they just started recently. At that time, I think they only started in December, and I flew in January. So at that time, they didn't have like a full.
Well, but that's good, because did you have somebody next to you? That's
no, very good. I enjoyed that. Yeah, I think it would be a completely different story if I have someone, because I always, like, on long flights, I always have this dilemma. Even in business, but in business where it's like Lufthansa style business, 222, for example, where you have to step over.
The problem with Lufthansa, because 22, like Turkish 22, the old Turkish 22, which still remains in some of the 777s, it's a 22 fine, but there's a lot of space in front of your feet. So meaning the stepping over the other person is okay. It doesn't feel, okay, I'm tall, so it's easier. But I mean, it's not overly bothersome for either party, either the two people sitting in that pair. However, the reason I especially don't like Lufthansa's current business class, which is now finally being replaced. I mean, it'll take time, but it's going to be replaced.
Replaced by one A350 that they have.
Yeah, exactly.
Now.
It's one A350 for the moment. You have to choose your route very carefully. It's because they were not only 2-2, they were also angled. Your feet were almost touching the other person's feet, so they were slightly angled. They were not going straight, both seats. They were angled towards each other. So that made it even more awkward, because then, especially me as someone who's tall, my feet had always a chance when I was in live flight to maybe touch the person next to me, which, if that person next to me is not my partner, is a bit very, very weird. So I guess
I know. Like, I used to do this, like, and I hated it to fly. And I would always pick a window, but then I had to step over like a random sleeping person all the time. And I felt like, well, I mean, so yeah, here I think if I had someone sitting next to me, and as you said, if it wouldn't be my partner, then I had to step over that person, and that would probably be awkward. But then we need to think about the business model, because business model, they're flying to Maldives, so mostly like it's going to be couples or families. Yeah.
In terms of pricing, is it very competitive with the alternatives you could fly from, let's say, Zurich or in Europe in general?
It is competitive. It is competitive. I think that's something they are also really working on at the moment. As far as I understand, mostly they are hoping that travel agents will be selling those as a, as a part of the tour.
Oh, package, yeah.
But the pricing is competitive at the moment. But we need to keep in mind that with 319s, this competitive advantage of direct flight is not there, right? So it is direct, but you have to, there is still a stop. And I don't know, like maybe someone would prefer to actually fly Emirates and have like a proper layover in Dubai.
Yeah,
but I'm
correct.
hoping that, with new airplanes, it's going to be a different story, and then the competitive advantage will be there.
Yeah, and also the 319 is a slower aircraft. So not only you have the stopover in Dubai, DWC, as you said, for BeOnd, but then also it's slightly slower. So even like you said yourself, from Dubai to Malé, I think you quoted 4.5 hours. I think when I flew Emirates last time, it was closer to 345 with a 380. So it's also it's not a huge difference, but it's true that it adds up. However, if you're price sensitive, and I am price sensitive, no matter what people think listening to this podcast, that, well, you always fly in the front of the cabin. No, I have good clients who are very smart about how I do it. But I'd rather, which is why, by the way, the entire story of me starting flying the Middle Eastern carriers, Etihad, which I'll describe a bit later, and Emirates, is because it was cheaper than flying direct non-stop with, I don't know, BA or Lufthansa or, I don't know, Air France. So this is creating yet another category of people that are willing to make a little bit more sacrifice of the time lost for the trip, but that might, like you and me, enjoy a little bit flying anyway. We're like, well, if it's like 2 hours more, I mean, why not? There's going to be room for my feet and a nice cup of champagne or 4 cups of champagne. So it's nice.
Exactly. Oh, and one thing that really caught my eye is that you don't have IFE, standard IFE, you get an iPad. So you have an iPad, to entertain yourself, a really big iPad. And you've got wireless headset, Beats.
Oh, no way.
Beats headset, which is also BeOnd branded. Yeah.
Nice.
So you can use it even with your own iPhone. You can listen to music on your own iPhone using this headset.
That's very cool.
You can go to the loo wearing this headset.
And honestly, think about that.
And what's the best part of it? You don't have to deal with wires because it's always so complicated, to find where to put it. And then whenever I'm sleeping, I still like to listen to something when I fall asleep, and then it always gets disconnected, and then I lose my music or whatever I was listening, and I'm not happy with the experience.
Yeah, I always said, for me, I like to listen to white noise, so basically rain, that gets me to sleep. If I'm, I can sleep super easily, I'm lucky. But if I'm not tired, but I'll say I really want to try to sleep because I know that I have the time difference and I want to catch up, blah, blah, blah. If I put headphones with noise cancelling, obviously with some, thunder and rain, that's something that works for me. And I always wonder why airlines don't have on the IFE. Because it must not be expensive, buying licensing rights for movies like Oppenheimer and Barbie and whatever. I get that it's expensive. Getting some rain, like a loop for 10 hours of rain should be, so I have that on my iPhone or whatever device I have with me, and I just play in loop. But you're right. If you have the cable and you sleep, at some point you're like, where's the cable? And why is it bothering me here? And why is it disconnected?
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. That's very smart. However, they have to make sure that you don't leave with the beats at the end of the flight, right?
Yeah, exactly. A few people ask me about that. How do they control? I don't know. I did leave it there at my seat, but there was no one controlling. Again, how some airlines, they even collect blankets, count 1, 2, 3, you're just ruining your premium experience right there, right? From passenger experience perspective, It's horrible.
Yeah. There's one thing of collecting headsets, which also I think that's a bit tacky, but having to collect blankets, you're like, is really anyone leaving with a full blanket and from the aircraft? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it has happened. People steal, hangers in hotels, so you never know, right? So, however, I remember, because that triggers a memory which probably I've talked about in this podcast. But again, we have like 138 episodes, and not everyone has listened. Unlike you probably listen 5 times to the catalog, because she does that, I'm gonna say. I was flying American Airlines business class somewhere to the US, and they had these very fancy headphones. Well, I mean, when I say we're very fancy, like a brand, it was not Bang & Olufsen, but it was like a high-end brand, And they started collecting them 45 minutes before the end, and I was like, I cannot finish my movie. Well, thank God I had my own, and I just plugged them, and I was like, this is a bit stupid. And she told me, the flight attendant back then, because otherwise people take them with them. And I was like, but then I cannot finish the movie. So in the balance, I think maybe do not invest in such high-end microphone or branded headphones, just to leave me able to listen to something at the end of the flight. Yeah, that's a clever idea. So did you? I have geek question here, because you flew Zurich, DWC, Mali. Was it just for the flight? So as soon as you arrived in Maldives, did you take the flight back, or did you actually enjoy a little bit of the Maldives?
I stayed 2 nighs in Mali and I flew back. Correct.
I was so sure. I was so sure you would do that.
I was even thinking I would have the same crew, but no, I had a different set of crew. No. Few people actually recognized me. They recognized me and they made a comment like, okay, I have like a very sensitive skin. I get sunburned very easily. I didn't expect that in 2 days I will be like the color of tomato, Spanish tomato. So when I get on board for my return flight, the few people who recognize me, they're like, oh, what happened? I said, I enjoyed the 2 days on the beach. Like, you need aloe vera. I know, everyone told me about that. There was nowhere where I could get aloe vera here. I'll get it as soon as I get to Germany. So fine. But that's a good question. You know me well by now.
Well, I assume as much, because I remember again that LinkedIn post you posted about the pictures. You didn't say that. In my head, I was like, did you just return the same? Yeah, because I've not done that. But when I went, that was by accident, because it was a very short work trip. I was going to Penang in Malaysia, which is an island off the coast of Malaysia, and I was flying Qatar Airways. So that was a Doha to Penang, and I stayed exactly, I think, one night, overnight, right? And the next day, it was the same cruise. Hello! And plus, it was not a full flight anyway, so I had all the extra bits just for me. That was really, really nice. So yeah, it's always cool to do that. So would you recommend BeOnd? Beyond the no pun here. Yeah. Beyond the fact that it takes a little bit longer, is it an airline you would recommend?
I would recommend totally. Yeah, it's a really cool experience. It's an experience that probably you don't get flying other premium products, even business class, first class. It's just different. It's not better, it's not worse, it's different. So if you're looking for a different experience, then I think it's a good one. And once they have a direct flight, definitely.
Yeah, when they are the 321, if it has the range to do that, you're right. Absolutely, it changes. That's exactly what La Compagnie has. Of course, again, you have to be flying from Paris. So, I mean, unless you're in Paris, I did it. I went to London because we're like that, you and me. But most people would not. But I would also recommend it. I know that some people might just balk at the fact that it's a 2-2 configuration. So, meaning they have like not full AIL access, blah, blah, blah. But again, depending on the type of, I think you said it very well. It's different. But if you accept that difference, if you want that difference to have something a bit better plus a good price, I think it's these airlines are very worthwhile. I hope that they not only they survive, because it's a tough business model to be in, but that more airlines start to be doing that, because it's a cool way of having a. I remember back in the day, there was, we're talking in the 90s here. I'm sorry, I'm old. There was this airline in Switzerland, Swiss World Airways, I think. They lasted for 6 months. And they were trying, I don't remember the aircraft now, maybe if I look it up, but I forgot. Maybe it was a 340. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It was not a full business class, but they were trying to do very early on, kind of a long-haul, low-cost model. So you could fly from the US and back for 200 euros. And which back then, I know I talk like an old person now, sorry guys, it was a very, very, very good deal. But they didn't survive. Of course, the economics didn't work and whatever. But so this is why I'm pointing out that I hope that airlines like BeOnd and La Compagnie not only survive but thrive, and others hopefully will. I'm sure there are others, but generally they are like more like localized. Like in the West Coast in the US is this FlyX or whatever, which is almost flying like a private plane. But this is going from, I'm going to say something that's probably wrong and I'm going to get mail, but LA to San Francisco, So it's not, it is not a short flight, but it's not transcontinental or going to
it's regional.
It's regional. So I've flown in private jet a few times.
You've flown in private jet, okay?
Yeah,
of course. I mean, flying first, flying private jets, of course. Talking BeOnd, I mean, just BeOnd over there.
But it's funny because what you said is, the added freedom of guys, it was not my private jet. It was in one occasion it was a company's private jet, and other occasions were people that happened to be acquaintances. Yeah, it happened. Yeah, my life is a bit strange somewhat. But but the one thing that you said very well is that on a bigger private jet, when you have more than, let's say, 2 people, the boarding is so quick. And that's exactly how I felt like you when I flew La Compagnie. And most of the people that I've spoken to about La Compagnie since I've done it, all of them, that's what they're impressed with. They said, we board, and 5 minutes later, we're gone, basically. It happens so fast. Whereas in a big aircraft, sometimes you like, especially, and I know I'm going to talk from someone that happens to be regularly in the front, especially if you board early, it seemed like half an hour later, you're still not finished boarding. Like, come on, can we just get on now?
Come on, people, can you move quicker, like with all your 10 bags to the back of the plane? No, but to this point, I now when I think about it, it's also a different feeling in terms of like, we are kind of like one big family. We are the same. No one is looking at each other. Like, sometimes like, if you are sitting in business and people pass by, you get like all the different kind of looks. And when you are in economy and you pass by business people, you give all the different kind of looks to those people. But in this case, everyone is equal. Everyone is on the same page. So there is nothing like to compete on. So I think it's a good feeling.
I agree. And also I do not like sitting. So, especially on big aircrafts, when you have a part of the business which is left from door one, I prefer it because I don't want to show off. I don't care. I know I talk about it on this podcast because we love talking about geekery, but in real life, when I'm actually in an aircraft, I don't want to show off. I don't have like, for instance, I don't have on my luggage. I mean, I'm a backpack only guy as well, but I don't want to have like a tag which says, Lufthansa would send me every year a new tag like senator, and it was like gold or something. And I don't want to show off that. So I'd rather not having anyone see me, no matter where I'm sat in the aircraft, than the opposite. I think it's a bit, but you're right. It happens because most of the time especially business class, you have to pass them through. I remember once I was flying, might have told the story on this podcast again, but this podcast has been running for forever now. I was going back to Tokyo. When I was leaving in Tokyo, there was a flight I paid myself, so no fancy seats or whatever. And I was flying from Geneva to went to see friends in a wedding actually, to Frankfurt. I love Frankfurt, as you know. Frankfurt.
Me too.
Frankfurt to Haneda, and I was with ANA. It was a 747, and our plane had been delayed. The one from Geneva to Frankfurt had been delayed. So I'm like, there's no way. I'm not, I'm losing the other aircraft. It's never going to wait. Well, as soon as we land, we have a minibus, a van that takes us from the aircraft to the 747. And I'm like, wow, we're getting like the royalty treatment, to get like, even the flight was supposed that we already had left by the time we had arrived. So I understood later, because it was not because of me or anything, one of the guys in that van was a CEO of a very big Japanese company. So that's why they waited for him, not for me, right? However, to your point, when I entered that aircraft, not only did I have to pass by everyone, I had to pass by everyone with a face of shame because everybody was looking at me, oh, that's you. Because they didn't see the guy in first. That CEO left to first class and sat with his beautiful champagne. I was going at, I don't know, row 95. That doesn't exist probably. Be like the way, way, way back in the aircraft. Everybody was looking at me and I was like, oh my God, I hate It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It was rain or something. One thing you do well as well, which you said it, I think, in the previous podcast, but I want to reiterate that, is that you learned, because I think it was a process, to only fly with a backpack or to only fly with basically something, a carry-on, something that stays. You don't check luggage, right?
Correct. Yeah, no, backpack, I'm still not at your level. Although for this BeOnd trip, I did buy a backpack, but this backpack, I don't even know if it's fair to call it a backpack. It's like, it's so big, I don't think it can be called backpack. It's like North Face, that's like 50 liters or something. And then you have this one as well?
No, I don't have that one, but it's very, very nice. A close friend of mine has this one. It's a 50 liter. It's very nice. Yeah, okay. I know what
it's
you
really
mean.
Big.
Yeah, but it's still a backpack. But I mean, I know what you mean. Look, the backpack I use is 40 liters. It's not either like a small, unless I'm going for a weekend, right? So it's not either. Some carry-ons could carry the same amount of things that the backpack. It's just that I love the backpack because it's when you are, especially in low cost airlines, and they start. It happens with BA as well. They start saying, okay, expecting the load inside the cabin to be too heavy, so they start asking passengers to put their luggage in the hold. They never ask you if it's a backpack because I have it on my shoulder anyway. Sometimes, like if it's heavy, I'm like, shit, it's really heavy, but I'm gonna keep it on my shoulder. So they're not triggered by that. They say, it's just a backpack, it's fine. Whereas somebody else might have a carry-on which is actually lighter than my backpack, but they will be asked to check it. So that's also a trick.
But you know what? You are also very tall, so proportionally, this 50 liters does not seem as big as it looks on, let's say, someone shorter like me.
No, 100%. You're absolutely right. That's a
good one.
I want to point out she's not that short because we met.
No, I'm not that short.
Exactly, in the previous podcast. You're not. Yeah, exactly. But no, fair enough. It's but it makes our lives easier to not have to check your luggage in. Do you have any other fancy flights?
Okay, we are only talking about fancy flights over here.
Pardon me. You're right. You're absolutely right. More like an interesting experience that you've had in recent, maybe has had. Made you think about whether the passenger experience was bad or great, or made you think that things could be improved or not, or just because you were very happy, or on the contrary, you were very angry. Is there such a flight of recent time that you can describe to me?
Yeah, I had a special flight personally because I've been trying to avoid MAX aircraft for like forever. I know Alex has the same thingy, but recently I just decided to go for it. And honestly, you guys already know I have this like researcher hat. Like I want to experience different things, and sometimes I push myself to experience things that I wouldn't want to experience, but just for the sake of experiment, I want. So this time on purpose, like I booked specifically MAX aircraft. I've been trying to avoid it. I didn't want to fly it, but I booked it because I wanted this like challenge.
By the way, I triggered you there because I knew you took that. So I was expecting you to give me that answer.
I knew you were expecting that.
So you said in the previous episode as well, and we know because we know each other before actually that you came on the show, that you used to experience fear of flying. So obviously adding the MAX, especially after the whole Air Alaska thing and the current travails of Boeing, was it besides, it's like jumping, let's go, let's do it, I want to try it. But were you anxious, basically?
I mean, it was a really tough decision. Like, so basically this winter I had to, I've spent most of my time in Turkey. I escaped to a warmer place because I hate really German winter. So I was going back and forth basically because I still had to do many things here in Berlin. And I experienced the whole scope of low-cost airlines. So, I flew BeOnd in the beginning of the year, and then I started flying Pegasus, Sun Express, EasyJet, by the way, on top of this ranking. But but Pegasus is very interesting airline. Anyway, the thing is that Sun Express is a daughter company of Lufthansa and Turkish Airlines. Actually, it's a really nice company. Yeah.
Yep.
I do enjoy them. They are low-cost airline, but they are a very human low-cost airline. I would say that.
So they are non-human and human low-cost airlines. That's a new definition for IATA.
Yeah, I mean, in the way they treat people, that they treat people, yeah.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of ancillaries. So, but the thing is that Sun Express, they fly every day, twice a day, from Berlin to Antalya. But it's only on Sunday. There is one flight that they fly 737 old one, like 20 years old 737.
Yeah.
Every day it's a max. And every time I was booking Sun Express, I was booking Sunday flight. Although I could fly on every other day of the week, but I was flying on Sunday. Yeah, and it was more expensive for some reason. I was like, people, why don't you want to fly in your plane? Like, come on Sunday, the timing is not as good. The plane is very old. Why? But why? I was one of them. So anyway, I was doing that constantly. Once I even had to fly Pegasus instead of Sun Express, my preferred airline, because the choice was Pegasus or 737 MAX on Sun Express. I said, okay, I'll do Pegasus. I mean, I never tried them. I'll experience Pegasus. And then I thought, this is ridiculous. You know what? Like, I just all my travel schedule according to this one plane. This plane is making such a big impact on my life. I don't know, like some people even in my life don't make such a big impact as 737 MAX. So I said, I need to fix that. This is an unhealthy relationship that I have with this plane.
Yeah.
And I booked myself a 737 MAX flight with Sun Express, and even like before that on all my previous flights on Sundays, I was worried if they're gonna swap it to Max.
I was about to say, you cannot even guarantee because they might.
I know, but I checked on Flight Radar the history. They never swapped it. On Sundays, it's always the old one. But now I was scared. What if they swap it from Max to the old one?
But yeah, of course.
I already decided. Yeah, because I already decided that I'm going for it. I will do it.
By that time, you're like, no way, I need to go. Now that I've decided, don't put me the old one. I want to actually do it for once. Yeah.
Exactly. So I usually take emergency exit raw on a flight over like 3 hours. I like a little bit more.
Oh, the advantage of the Max is that you have multiple emergency exits that you don't even know about because they just open randomly, right?
It's open door policy.
Exactly.
But I had to sit in the beginning of the aircraft because I was like, if it's Max and if it's emergency door, I mean, it's like double down on my fears. Like I can't do this.
You could have brought a wrench so you could actually bolt yourself I'm sorry, I'm making I know we have people from Boeing listening, guys. I know it's an easy target right now, but so please apologies, even though I'll say that and I'll still do jokes. Go ahead, please.
No, but I agree with you, and I completely understand that it was very irrational, this fear, and it was like irrational decisions for me to constantly avoid it. That's why I decided to break this tendency. Although one thing that really helped me, I think, is that this plane was 3 years old. So I felt still like a little bit old, Max.
Yeah. Well, at least, just a bit
at least, if it would be like 1 year old or less than a year, I think I would be stressing out more. Yeah.
So how was it then?
The flight was uneventful. Well, travel blogger in me wanted to squeeze some content out of this flight for my LinkedIn. Like I mentioned last time, I do post quite a lot on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And I was really hoping that I can squeeze some content out of it. Well, I've done I think you've seen it. I've done like a short, kind of like a reel style video, like 30 seconds.
I've seen that. Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I knew you did fly the Max. This is why.
But in a nutshell, like whoever hasn't seen it, the most annoying the most annoying noise that I had on this airplane, although I was like paying attention to everything that is happening around me, was a snoring passenger next to me, a loudly snoring guy. Apart from that, the flight was smooth and nice, and actually I enjoyed it a lot.
It's a nice aircraft. Look, yeah, that story. Maybe I'll just ask you, how do you feel about that whole story with Boeing? There are multiple issues. Of course, the MAX, but the Dreamliner was out of production for a couple of years because of fuselage joint gaps, I think, were not done correctly. And now there's new whistleblower that said even after they came back to production, it's still not great because the 777, the latest not the X, right, but the latest batch of production, same thing with the fuselage, apparently. That's the whistleblower alleged accusations. I'm not going to take a judgment, but like jumping on the fuselage to make them fit together. So it feels at least there's a magnifying glass over Boeing right now because, of course, it was grave. Let's not take it lightly. What happened at Air Alaska, and of course, the two crashes a few years ago were bad. But it's how do you feel generally maybe about the company and how this whole thing is happening?
Yeah, I think it's very unfortunate that Boeing is in this situation. Personally, like as an aviation geek, as a serial aviation geek, as I claimed in the beginning, I honestly love the company. I've been to the factory in it's not Seattle, but it's close to Seattle. Everett, yeah, exactly. And I enjoyed the tour. It was a very special moment for me. As a passenger, I think like now, honestly, I still don't feel like super comfortable flying on newer Boeing planes because of all of this, that is happening in the world. My only hope is that, they will sort it out and, they will change leadership, change direction, and they will be great again. Oh my God, that sounds like like a slogan for US election, but I really do hope that Boeing will be great again.
No, I'm the same because and even did I say it in another podcast? Doesn't really matter. I repeat myself often. Even Airbus, the CEO of Airbus came out and said it's not great because as an industry, first of all, it's nice to have competition because it keeps you on your toes and keeps, producing other products, but it also gives overall less confidence in aviation and in aircrafts overall, so it's we know that the issues have been happening here, the grave one with Boeing, but overall, the general public might not be as informed as you and me, and we're not even the best informed yet. People are even more informed than we are. So it's not. I agree with you. It's not great. How they will get out of it is a bit tricky because the 737 line in general is their bread and butter. Is how they make the most money. So now that they have restrictions of how many they can produce per month, they have to figure out how to make that all the quality control issues they've been having to set them correctly so they can produce again. They don't get a certification for the 10. They don't get the certification for whatever the 7. The addition. So they have the money is not coming in as fast as it should for them to actually invest in future lines or simply the 777X, which seems to be a great aircraft, but it's super delayed. So it's not helpful in general as a company, and they have a huge pressure because now they have to change, like you say. But at the same time, they have the pressure of their shareholders because their stock value keeps going down. So there's something's going to give at some point. They have a new leadership. They've announced a new leadership. So the CEO is obviously stepping down, but not immediately. I think at the end of the year. But I don't know. The thing is, the and then we'll go back to less serious things. The aviation industry is not that big. So to find a new CEO is not that easy. And because you might want this time a CEO that is not just I don't know if Calhoun was, but just not an Excel spreadsheet CEO, because you want someone who believes in engineers, who doesn't try, because that's exactly what they've done. They basically pushed the old guys, the people that had the heritage of Boeing, that had the intelligence, they knew how the things were happening and how to basically create great things, which in this case are aircraft, were pushed out because they were too expensive, the pensions were coming up. So you need someone who understands that you cannot run an airline as if you run yet another data company or etc. So I hope they find someone good. And I hope they're not trying to just reshuffle, because that's the only thing I'm a bit uncomfortable with. The new head of commercial aviation, because the previous one was being, ejected, especially Ryanair, O'Leary was especially didn't like that person. So, but the new one is the ex-CFO of Boeing. So you're like, so you're taking the same guys and you're just putting him different titles. Let's see. I'm giving them. I still think it's a great company, for no matter all their faults. But like you, I want them to be a great company again. In that sense, these great companies that we admire. So I hope they get. I think it's going to take a few years though. Let's see. Anyway, let's go back to further. So basically, now did you get over your, I don't know if it's called fear, but at least anxiousness about the MAX? And will you fly it again without having to think twice, or do you still will have a little bit of a hesitation?
Well, whenever I pick my flights, it's not like I'm thinking once or twice. I'm thinking 200 times. Like it's the same with you guys, right?
Yeah,
I have to spend so much time, like
too much time.
Flights for Light Radar, Expert Flyer, all of these tools. I think now it's easier for me probably to book a MAX flight, but I must say it also depends on the airline. Like honestly, if I go back home to Kazakhstan, right, there is an airline Scott that flies MAX aircraft. I wouldn't fly that. Okay. Never. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to make sure that the airline that you think has a good record of maintenance and they invest in their.
Yeah. If it was, I know that Air Astana does not have 737 Maxes. If it was Air Astana, I would fly. But with Scott, I wouldn't fly. So it really depends on the airline. In this case, I think I had my also trust given to Sun Express. If it was a different airline, I don't know. So it's like two criteria. Although I must say, in the US, I feel more comfortable booking 737 MAX flights. So like I'm going to the US in May. I have no issue booking Southwest, not Alaska probably, but I still have all this criteria. Opinionated.
No, but one thing that plays in favor of the US here is probably that the 37 is the equivalent of the 320 in Europe. So it's the aircraft you see the most, because so obviously they have a lot of roster of pilots that are experienced with that one. Like the same again in Europe. If you fly a 320, probably the pilots have been flying 25 airlines at 320, or have been flown for one airline before 25 years at 320, because it's the most popular aircraft to get on short haul. So similar in the US, whereas you're right that in some regions when maybe they had to just train some new guy, and I'm saying that maybe I'm unfair actually, but I understand basically your point, where I would be also.
Yeah, that's exactly the reason. Yeah. It's not like I trust in US aviation more than in European aviation, not like this, but I really think that for them it's like a working horse, like exactly as 320 here.
Yeah, 100%. I think, I hadn't thought about it this way, but now that you say it, it's true that it's probably what I would maybe. I have no plans. I mean, I have plans to go to the US, but when I go to the US these days, as our listeners understand, I usually go to like New York and then I come back. I don't do like, other little trips, side trips. So I don't have any plans to fly any short to medium haul in the US. Where are you going, by the way? Do you know where you're going?
Oh, so I'm like you. Whenever I'm going to the US, I try to combine it with like all the things that I want to try. So like it's going to be multi city itinerary. So nice. and one bit of it is that I will be in Miami for Aviation Festival Americas.
Yes.
And then my friend from Netherlands, she happened to be in Orlando at the same time. I said, brilliant, it's very close, right? And I checked flights. And then I remember there is a new cool train service called Brightline. That just started. Yeah. Yes. So I told my friend, okay, let me come over to Orlando. She said, oh, actually, you know what? My daughter and my parents will fly back and I will come down to Miami. I'll drive to Miami. I said, no. I want to come to Orlando for a day. She said, why? I want to try Brightline. So what we decided to do is that after my conference, I will take this train, Brightline train that I want to review to Orlando. And then the next day, she will drive us back to Miami. So unlogical, but welcome to my life.
I do the same. I'm also a train person, but it has to be It has to stand out. Like you know, your average train, I might not go out of my way to try stuff. Of course, in Japan, I'm often prioritizing a Shinkansen over, even though I fly sometimes, but some of the service that you fly, it's like being in a plane, right? I've not done, sadly, and I will probably one day, the similar type of service in China, but I hear as well when you're like when you pay a little more, like in the premium classes of these trains, it's like, again, you have like a lie flat and whatever. So I want to see that. Mm-hmm. And Brightline seems very appealing because, especially in the US, when, train service, besides the Acela, which is not bad. I mean, it's not comparable to the Shinkansen I just mentioned, but yeah, although one day I don't have that kind of life yet, but maybe when I have more time, I would love to take one of these slow trains. They go from New York to, I don't know, Utah or something, and that takes you 15 days, but you need to have time. I would still love to see this. But Brightline, please post on LinkedIn about it when you've done it, because I'm very, very curious about that. So
I will.
It's good. It's nice. I didn't know you were into trains. That's nice. Talking about trains.
Not so much, but it's trending. This train is trending. Everyone is talking about it, so I won't review it myself.
Yeah, but what I meant, because I'm like you, what I meant is like we are more, you and me, I think, after all these years exchanging with you, we love the passenger experience aspect of things. And when a train has a similar feel or tries to compete with airlines, it's interesting because they give you things that you're not just sat in a random tramway or in a random, it's like they try to make it something that feels like look, I just went to Nice and I just came back actually yesterday, south of France. If we had like a super duper nice high-speed train that would go direct, of course it's longer, but I might consider it. Now, the cost of the Eurostar is way too expensive. And then I would have to change in Paris, go down. Not that it's not feasible, but it just still is a better. It's not even about price and time. Like it's a better experience overall for me to take the plane. But I would strongly consider train if the train offers. It doesn't have to be first class with like champagne. That's not what I'm saying. It has to be something a bit more than a very 90 degrees rough seat when you have like. That's what I meant by you like trains as well. I like passenger experience. I like to see what they can try to do. Yeah.
So I'll report back.
Actually, because I'm going to go to the UAE and I describe a little bit. I'm not going to do it too much because I've already done Etihad a few times. But talking about train, when I was in Dubai, so nothing to do with the trip that I'm going to talk about now, but a few months ago, I did a trip in the desert just because I wanted to get out of the city. There was too many people. Suddenly I saw a train line, and I was asking the driver, because I hired a driver just for the afternoon, for the day, and they actually are building a train system in the UAE. So for the seven states, they are building a high-speed train, and I looked it up, it looks really cool. So that's I'm rarely doing intra UAE trips or whatever. When they open, I might actually, in one of my trips in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, I might just say, let's take the train to somewhere just to see how it is. Like you, just go, see how it is, come back. Even if I have no reason whatsoever to actually use a train or to go to a destination, I love trying these new things. So they're building like a lot of other countries, but this one looks really nice. So have you ever flown Etihad or not?
Actually, Etihad, I never flown.
And any of the other?
Emirates, I flew.
Did you like Emirates?
Yeah, of course. So easy to like them, right?
When was it? Was it recently or was it a long time ago? Do you remember?
No, it was even before pandemic.
Okay, before the pandemic. Yeah, but no, it's so Etihad was for me. People must be tired of me listening. That was my first experience. One of the, let's say, ME3, so Qatar, Etihad, and Emirates. The first one I ever flown out of these three was Etihad. And then because of where I was living and the pricing and especially because Emirates is a much bigger operation, I flew Emirates because it was easier. There were like daily flights to where I wanted to go, whereas Etihad didn't. I've flown a few times. The last time was only in 2017 when I went to Australia with them. That was a long flight, by the way. Look, I went to. I want to ask when Alex comes back, I won't be able to do that anymore. Do you like Heathrow? Have you ever been to Heathrow?
I've been to Heathrow a few times. I will be in Heathrow in May, actually, for my transfer. I bothered you and Alex with the same messages. It's not like I don't trust you or I don't trust Alex, but I wanted second opinion or third opinion.
Definite answer, yes.
On the topic. Yeah. I mean, Heathrow is such a big airport. Like, what I remember, my brightest memory about Heathrow is that I spent 3 hours at the passport control once, flying from Berlin to and exiting in London. I spent 3 hours, and I was like, really, 3 hours? I mean, German efficiency seems even like more efficient than what is happening in Frankfurt, than what is happening in Heathrow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always interesting because, first of all, I have, a habit. So, of course, Heathrow has become, over my time now, I've been, 13 years living in London. So it's become a habit. So I don't even, it's probably the same when you travel a lot at the same airport with the same airline. You don't see the cracks anymore because you're so normalized it. You're like, it's not good, but you're like, whatever. And Heathrow, people know that I find them average overall. I know there's multiple terminals. I don't think they're that good. I don't think they're bad, but I think they're not really improving. But it's true, that's important for you. It's true that the layover experience, the stopover experience is vastly different than an origin destination, though you have the kind of passports when exactly you have to stay forever at immigration control. But even the layover is not always great. I've done it before moving to the UK. I've done a few changing terminals here, and it's not the best, because the terminals are separated. And if you want to take these airside bus, I'm going to say it publicly, there's an airside bus you can take switching terminal. It's nice for you and me because we can see some views of the aircraft, because that's always a cool thing with these kind of buses. You're not in an underground, light rail or something, but it's not elegant as a solution. It's just like, It works. There's a bus. Charles de Gaulle has the same issue. They have a bus that runs, I think, clockwork and anti-clockwork. It's not great. It takes a bit too much time. It's not very efficient. It's not elegant. It works, again. But it's true that compared to some other big hubs of this world, when transit seems straightforward, this is not always, because she needs to transfer. I needed to say that you need to switch terminals. That's the most important thing, because if you didn't have to switch terminals, it's okay. But switching terminals in London is not the easiest.
Actually, you know what? I ended up booking BA all the way there. So it's going to be Terminal 5, but on my way back, it's going to be Terminal 3 to Terminal 5. So I guess it's going to be easier for me. No bus, unfortunately. But you know how in Zurich they have this like train with cows and other weird sounds that associate with Switzerland?
Yodeling.
I do enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, but you have no views.
Not real cows, just to make clear to the people who is listening.
Just a soundtrack, but you have no view. So if you're an av geek like you and me, I hate buses. I was going to say in airports, I hate buses. If I cannot have buses, it would be my dream. However, I will say sometimes, happened to me recently at Dubai, I had to be taken off a bus, and you drive seemingly forever. So yes, it's not efficient, it's not elegant. However, the views you can have on some of these big birds is super rare because you're right there. You see them and you're like, oh my God, they're so big. And it's, which is why I hate airports where on these buses, they put stickers or they darken. I get it that you dark the window a little bit, especially again, for instance, in Dubai, because there's a sun. But not to the point when you cannot see anything outside. I want to see these aircraft, for crying out loud, so that if I'm in a...
Or take a picture if you're stuck in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
I would want to take a picture. But they make it they make it with small dots that you can hardly see through. And it's so painful for your eyes.
Yes.
Why they do this?
Yes, exactly. And that's one of the good things about, and I'll get there in a minute, about the new Abu Dhabi, no buses. At least that's what they're promising, because you know how it is. They say no buses, and one day maybe they have too much capacity, not enough capacity to say, oh, now we have remote stands. Oh, crying out loud. So, yeah, but you'll be fine at Heathrow. But it's true that to connect, and we've had a lot of our listeners, because Alex and I are based in the UK, that talk about Heathrow not being the greatest to connect, and I can attest to that. But it's fine. I mean, you're not, BAs for all the. Sometimes, BA has some great things about it and some meh things about them. It still works, so you're not going to lose your plane. You're going to make your transit. So
I hope for this trip I only get good things and not meh things or very minimal of meh things.
Yeah, but I think at least post-pandemic, to me, I always expect there's going to be a few meh things, and maybe because I've flown so much, or maybe I accept. I realize sometimes when I talk to friends, not on the podcast, and we talk because I have these podcast friends come to me and say, Paul, what's your opinion about X and Y? As if I were some kind of expert, which I'm not. But I realize that sometimes it's not that I'm forgiving, is that because it's always been like that. As in, something has always been kind of meh, and I don't even see it anymore. Like, I know it's going to be like that. I don't care if it's going to... Like, typically, I went to Terminal 4, which is that little odd terminal at Heathrow. I don't especially love it. It's small, so that's the advantage maybe, because it's tiny. I don't especially love it, but I knew that I was going there to take Etihad. My expectations are there because I'm not going to expect anything great. I'm not going to think about it. So I went there and I did the security, which is okay. And the airport is okay. And the lounge from Etihad hasn't changed, is okay. And that's fine. You know what I mean? I'm not complaining about it. Maybe it's because I've flown so much and I'm like, oh, whatever. Or maybe I was looking forward to the great things, or at least my expectations were higher, which obviously was being in the Etihad aircraft, which was a 380. I'm like, I'm going to be in a 380 and it's going to be Etihad.
I honestly think it's, with our experience, it's hard to surprise us, but also it's harder to disappoint us in a way.
Exactly.
Because we have this certain level of expectations already, and some of them are reasonably low already considering average expectations. Like, sure. I flew once with a colleague and he was expecting in Swiss premium economy a mango juice, and he was really disappointed they didn't serve mango juice. I mean, I don't have this expectation. My life is much easier, I would say.
That's exactly the point I was trying to make. You did it much better than me. That frequent flyers are both harder on some stuff, and some stuff we normalize them so much that we don't see them anymore. We're like, I know it's going to be okay, so what? Never mind. So that's for me, that's the feeling I have at Heathrow. I prefer Gatwick, like I say in every single episode now since the start of this podcast, it feels like. But yeah, it's just that bit was okay. The Etihad lounge, you've never been to it, but it used to be, Etihad went through phases. It's unfair what I'm going to say. I said they were trying to be a bit of a copycat of Emirates. They're not a copycat of Emirates, but, they started later than Emirates. So they were for the same play, having a base in Abu Dhabi for them and trying to get everywhere in the world and try to get the people to use them, which was what Emirates was doing already. So they also bought 380s and 777s. And the inside, for me, I prefer the looks of Etihad. I always prefer the looks of Etihad. I always found, even though I love Emirates, I always found Etihad more, subtle. Less in your face and ostentatious. So sorry, I had lost my own track here. Then they went through this phase of, we overspent and they bought these airlines like Falling Lives, like, or Serbia and whoever, I forgot now the name.
Air Berlin.
Yeah, Berlin, thank you, exactly. But the strategy was not... I don't know. I'm not going to judge because I was not in the office when they made these strategies, but it felt a bit all over the place, at least for a passenger experience. You had like these bits and bolts trying to add up to the Etihad experience. And so then basically the government, so the royalty behind said, okay, you guys overspent and it went nowhere. So now we're going to, first of all, you're not going to do it anymore. We're going to be directly involved, us, the government, directly in the company. And they reduce the operations a lot. And now it seems in this third phase of Etihad that they are starting to gain again, to kind of re-push the company. So, and in that same aspect, the lounge at Heathrow was, at the time when it was open, it was really nice. Then it became, even the name changed. It was, I think, the home of Etihad and other leading airlines. You're like, whatever is that?
What?
Yes.
Who came up with this name?
I don't know. But, sign as okay, we're not as big as we thought we're going to be, so they probably opened the lounge to other airlines. I don't know what happened because I was not flying Etihad at that time. I think I did once. I was at that Australian trip. I think the name was already that. And then the lounge, because I don't want to The lounge is nothing to write home about. The lounge you have now is exactly the same as the lounge you have 10 years ago, but it felt a little bit dated. Everything was it's fine. It's a lounge. It's nice to have a lounge and nice to have free champagne and to have nuts, even though, she doesn't know that, because all of you who have listened to the show, you will discover that, Alex, when you listen to the previous episode that is not yet out when recording this. My time at this lounge in my first flight, I was the sickest I've ever been in a flight.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
So it was my worst experience ever in an airport and in a flight, especially in flight, because I had back pain and everything, but doesn't matter. I've told the story already. Meaning, it's not because I was sick that I found the lounge was dated. It's just because it was okay, but nothing to write home about. Everything then went efficient. The T4, I said, is small, so efficient, fast. The plane is a 380. It's 7 years old only, but, out of these 7 years, I think 4 years was in storage. So the good thing is that I entered and I'm like, this is brand new. It's not brand new, but you know what I mean? If it has only been used for 3 years, they're put in storage and probably well in storage because it was kept really well. I was like, wow, everything looks, was the studio, they call it, is business class. They're going to change it. They're going to have a new business class coming up, but this is still the studio. Looks amazing, looks fresh. I was like, wow, it looks... So that's why I went online and said, did they just buy a 380? No, it was in storage. So yeah, the product hasn't aged. It has and it hasn't. Have you flown any of these airlines that now offer a door in business class or not yet?
Door.
Like you have your own seat on the window and there's a door that closes.
JetBlue had a door.
Yes, JetBlue did. Oh, you're right. We talked about it last time. Yeah, exactly. So that is strange because I'm not a huge fan of doors, as I said repeatedly. I mean, it's okay, but I think for me, it's not a game-changing feature because most of the aircrafts I've been in business class, the layout makes it that I don't even see anyone anyway. So I'm like, you know what? I have a door. The doors that make sense, and I still don't like them, are the doors that are quite high because then you don't even see the people walking by. So that's a true sense of privacy. But the doors that are mid-size, it was like, I have a door when I sat, but everybody who's walking can still see me inside of the seats. So I'm like, I don't know what the door is for. But what is interesting, because you love also the SpaceX aspect of things, is that because now everybody is moving to having doors, that seat felt fresh and pristine, how it looked, felt dated because it didn't have a door. You know what I mean? I'm like,
really? That's how you felt?
Yeah, because now you've seen that since the industry is moving into adding this feature, which again, I'm neutral about it. I'm not against it. I don't think it's particularly interesting. But now I was like, there should be a door maybe here.
But it also depends on the configuration, right? So like 100%. With JetBlue, that was herringbone. So I think with herringbone, you actually... like the door is sort of needed. If it's reverse herringbone and then it's like more like a shell around it, you are facing window, right? Then probably not so much. You missed the door. How was it on Etihad?
No, so there was none. But the thing I was in the middle.
Oh, there was no door.
But that's what I mean is like I was seeing that shouldn't there be a door here? And again, when I was sat, so I was in the middle section, of the 380, so a pair seats, right? I couldn't see basically any one of the guys that were on the windows because the way it is built meant that when I was sat, and for those who have listened to the previous podcast, that was a very hard thing for me to be sitting on that aircraft. But when I was sat, I was not seeing the face of anyone else. So meaning, what's the added privacy of a door? But even though I knew that, even though I was not seeing anyone else, in terms of products, since the industry is moving into adding a door, I was starting to think, should they add a door eventually? Which I think they will, because they announced recently a new, more kind of traditional business class. I guess it's some things you see in other aircraft. Anyway, that's a detail. But it was really, I guess you said you've flown Emirates, so you've flown in a 380, right? I just want to make sure. Do you like it?
Yeah, 380. Of course. I mean, 380 is... okay. Like... If I have to choose between 747 and 380, 100% 747.
Get it.
380, from passenger experience, I think it's very comfortable. It's nice.
Exactly, yeah.
But how it looks like in the plane, I don't have like this passion about 380s, like some people.
Yeah, the love about it, yeah.
I haven't flown 380 after the pandemic. I still haven't. So maybe that's a trip I have to book, like to review how how it changed or if it didn't.
It's having a renaissance moment because since the airlines are a backlog, I mean, there's a backlog of aircraft that they haven't received. There's been COVID, of course, and there are people want to fly. So, of course, Emirates is a different beast because Emirates basically relies on the 380, but other airlines are reactivating the 380. Even if they don't really like it, because having one or two makes no sense in terms of a business model, but because if your route is full of people, it's great. Then it works. This is how Emirates was able to make the business model work, is that, well, we have these routes like to London, every single 380, and I've flown the 380 since the pandemic with Emirates, it's always full. Like, it's crazy. So for them, it makes sense. For other airlines, if you only have 2 or 3, you need to have a maintenance just for that type of aircraft, and you need to have people that have type rated for that type of aircraft. Although I think if you're type rated for 350, 380, these two are comparable, but I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Anyway, it was really nice to be a 380. The thing I will say is that no matter what I just said about everything looking pristine, as soon as I played with the seat, and I had to play a lot with the seat due to my back pain, yeah, you could see that it was in storage for 3 years because it was, it was creaking. And when he was going on the supposed lie flat, he was bouncing back a little bit because probably it was recently reintroduced to the fleet, the specific one I was in, and probably it hadn't been oiled enough or something, or maybe it was just hadn't been used for 3 years or 4 years or whatever in storage. But anyway, the plane was great. The experience was great. The one thing I will say about the crew, and it is probably why I prefer Emirates, but that's because it's me. I'm someone, and you know me, Alex, I'm someone pretty joyous. I love to smile, I love to do small talk. I talk with the crew all the time, or not if I'm tired, but I leave them alone. I'm not demanding or whatever. The crew at Etihad is, and that's the culture. I'm not saying it's the choice of people they've hired. I think how they've been trained. It's different, right? I'm not here criticizing the crew. Is less me. It's more, they are very silent. They come to you. They don't want to bother you, basically, which is good, but they're not engaging in a fun way with you. They're not
too official.
Yeah, exactly. They're not playing. They're not playful. And Emirates have always had playful interactions with the crew, no matter where they're from. Of course, and I said from a previous slide, there was with Emirates, when there was this crew was from Egypt. We had some links with Greece, and we were having fun with that. There was I love that, and it happens to me with Lebanese crew, but it happens to me as well with crew from Latvia, whatever. It's really not here. I'm not pointing out, but I always felt that Etihad, they've been probably told not to be too forward with a passenger, which is fine. But I missed that. I was like, yeah, it's great airline. Everything, the offering of how it works is great. But for me, the tone was not. It's not mine. You know what I mean? So,
was it Emirates crew that gave you 2 or 3 times size of black caviar when you said you were vegan?
Yes,
yeah, okay.
yes. They were very but it's and sometimes BA when they're good. Are like that as well, and other have that with Air France. I've never had that with Lufthansa. I'm sorry.
Me neither.
I've rarely flown Lufthansa long haul because I didn't want that business seat. So these kind of interactions often happen in a long haul flight because you have time to talk to them. When it's an hour flight, you don't really, you engage a bit and then you see them for 2 times and that's it, right? So it's not limited to Emirates, but Emirates is particularly good at that, and I think that's what they've learned. Qatar is getting there, because they were maybe too young, didn't have the experience. Etihad is probably, again, and I don't know because I did some work with Etihad in the past, but not on that side of things. So I don't know if but it feels like it's something that they've been trained to, the way they've behaved, they've been trained to not being like super forward with the people, which is fine, but I missed it, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I can understand. I'm just curious, like how many people think about it, like how many passengers think about it. We are over-analyzing everything.
Yes.
So like for us, I think in this case, every small detail would make a difference to passenger experience. But like how many people actually who fly in business, they notice, difference between Emirates crew and Etihad crew. As long as they serve you what you want and deliver what you expect, like.
And also probably, especially of course in a corporate world, but it could even happen in a non-corporate world. I think people tend to stick with one airline.
Yeah.
in the UK, most people will fly with BA. Some have decided to, let's say, use Emirates because of pricing or because they love, because, Dubai is nowadays very popular for British visitors. But they're not going to do like you and me, like, I'm going to fly Thai one day, and the next I'm going to fly Eva Air, and then I'm going to go LATAM, and then I'm going to try Delta. And then, so of course, we love you and me and others that are probably listening to this show doing that. But it's true that it's not a normal thing. Most people know, they might see differences between flights. So this is why I'm saying BA, for me, it's obvious. And I don't want to just bunk on BA, but sometimes it's like, wow, the interaction, the tone, everything is perfect. And sometimes it's like, what the hell is happening here? You know what I mean? But most people will only see that bit. They will never have this breadth of experience that you and me might have. And by the way, there are people that listen to this podcast. We are like small players compared to them. They've done everything, that I'm getting like sometimes.
I'm sure.
Emails. I'm like, so I've done like 25 airlines this month. And this is, I'm like, okay, man, I'm like, I don't know.
I know. And Paul, I think we are diverging from the topic. You wanted to talk about the airport, but I just wanted to mention, because you talked about listeners and how heavy geeky they are. I wanted to mention that I met actually one of your loyal listeners, Matt Graham.
No way.
Thanks to the show. He was in Almaty at the time when I was in Almaty. He messaged me and he's like, yeah, you know what? I also wanted to be a guest on this podcast. Maybe I still have to wait until my quota 5 years or something. So I met him in person, and that guy, hi Matt.
Hi Matt.
He's traveling all over the world. Wow. I can barely keep up because then he was briefly in Europe and he was in Berlin for a few days. So we went for drinks here as well in Berlin. But I can barely keep up. This is the guy that is flying, I think, every day or different airlines. So my life seems very boring when I look at his WhatsApp messages and pictures of different products. Yeah.
Well, Matt, because he's been, I know, because, these are your name, his name, there's a few names, more than a few actually, but also there's a limited amount of names I can remember in my head, but they are names that I've kept seeing coming in through, emails, Instagram or, Facebook, whatever. I'm really on Facebook these days, and Matt is one. So, and sometimes, by the way, I need to say I'm sorry that I'm not reaching back to people, right? Because I don't have time. I have a job as well. But it's great to see these names. So, Matt, I'll consider you for a guest. I promise you. I need to have time first, but I will. I will say, however,
consider you as a guest. That sounds very good.
There's one thing I would say. For me, as soon as I saw you in Tokyo, remember, completely by accident.
Yeah.
That is the moment I said, okay, she can be a guest. Not that I want to gate the guest, but it's I'm looking for guests, and I'm not saying, Matt, you could completely qualify. I'm not saying that, but I want people that are a bit fun and that know how to interact, joyful. The same thing we just said about the crew, right? They are people that I know in the industry that have reached out to me, and I've actually told them, but you're too serious. We are first an entertainment podcast and second an airline podcast. I don't want to have people, and I'm not, again, Matt is not against you nor anyone else, but you know what I mean? So I like to, actually, I was researching for potential other co-hosts like you are and like Paolo was. There's one already lined up for the next one, guys. Maybe even two. It's because I want to listen to them and how are they, like if they've been interviewed on a podcast or if there's a YouTube video of them, because I want to have that kind of fast-paced, which is my thing. I know I'm unfair. Well, there you go. But so, yeah.
This world is unfair, but I get it. As a co-host on the other podcast, I get the same struggle, like picking up guests. So I'm glad I'm qualifying for this podcast already second time. So amazing. I'm doing a good job. I'm very proud of myself.
We got to start giving stickers to people like first time, second time. Do you notice, let's put it that way, do you notice if an airplane has air vents or lack thereof?
Of course. I always want to have air vents.
Yes, and that 380 didn't have any. So, it's one of the things when they've built the overhead bins quite high. So, of course, even having an air vent I would have had to stand up and open it. So I understand why. But all the airlines at 380 have air vents. I was pissed off there was no air vents, especially because on the return leg, because I'm not going to do the return leg completely since I just talked about that, it was hot. And I was like, a little bit of just wind for me. But yeah, I still find that a little bit maddening. Anyway, yeah, little stupid thing. I can't talk stupid things, not stupid, but like details with you because you like me.
I love details.
Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So the Wi-Fi was maddening. Didn't work well, but that's, maybe, it was installed 7 years ago. It's not one of the latest ones. I get that. So I'm really not going to talk about the quality of the Wi-Fi, but the login thing of the Wi-Fi sometimes is really stupid. And this one, so some airlines, and I think that's good, they have their own Wi-Fi names. Like BA Wi-Fi, I don't remember the name of it. Or Emirates, I think it's called On Emirates or something. This one was a random name, Panasonic or whatever, which also meant that every time I wanted to relog, I had to start completely over again. If I had saved my password because they imposed me to put a password, my password, thing couldn't find which one it was because I had 4 Panasonic on my list, so I couldn't, relog. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, airlines, please, can you? It shouldn't take a long time. You just name your Wi-Fi the name of your airline or something, and that would solve it. I don't know. I know maybe it's very, very tiny detail, but
it's not tiny detail. It's just my feeling is that many people who actually came up with this Wi-Fi structure, just an example, they actually never been on their own aircraft trying to connect to their own network. They are just making decisions just blind. That's my feeling sometimes, right? But they actually don't test it themselves. If they would test it, I'm pretty sure they would notice it's not great, right?
There was another, I want to say it was Turkish, but maybe it was not, when I switched. So I was doing layover, and then so the 2 aircraft didn't have the same IFE, didn't have the same Wi-Fi name. And I'm like, so again, I get it. The provider might be different, but a little bit of consistency would be nice. I'm just going to quickly say it was back in the day. Turkish has done a lot of improvement in their back-sex. Now they're really, because they're clearly vying for Emirates status, right? They're going for, it's one of the airlines I start to consider now seriously taking, where just 5-10 years ago, it was like, yeah, I still prefer Emirates. They're very, very good now. Have you flown Turkish recently?
Yeah, Turkish is good. Turkish is good. Talking about Wi-Fi, that's a big disadvantage of New Istanbul airport, right? It's so hard to get Wi-Fi there. You have only 1 free hour if you connect and receive SMS code, and then you have a second free hour if you go to a physical machine, put your passport in, and receive a code as well. So I think, and this must be one of a very few major hubs where you have to go through so many things to just connect to a Wi-Fi. I mean, even our beloved Frankfurt airport is perfect in terms of Wi-Fi. It's so easy to connect.
See, a good point about Frankfurt. Oh my God.
Yeah, of course.
It finally happened
on this.
Finally happened on this show. Yeah, no, I know. And by the way, I haven't flown to Frankfurt since the pandemic, so now I'm not.
Not much changed. Not much.
That's not good news for me. But I lost all status. I'm just what is the frequent flyer, the minimum now. So no more senator access or whatever, which is fine, by the way. It's my fault. Though sometimes I hope they would have given me like some lifetime, but no, I was not a big deal. Anyway, getting close to Abu Dhabi, there was like thunderstorms and rain. So not what just happened in nothing like that, but meant we had to it was kind of bumpy on the way down, but it was fine. It's rare though. And as soon as I arrive in Abu Dhabi, I'm like, okay, where's finally that thing that always, because I had flown in the past there, obviously, and you could see it was ready. You could see that the structure, the airport, the terminal, what it was called, because now it's the airport because all the others are closed. So it was there in the middle, and you could always go past it and go to this old thing. And I was like, and finally I went to the new one. I felt like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, and I wanted to try to run on the roof of this, because if you've not seen, I will mention that again, in the latest Mission Impossible, they are in Abu Dhabi airport in that new terminal. They had authorization to film, and they were also sponsored by Etihad. They are flying Etihad in that movie. They call it Terminal A. I found it a very weird name. So they had 1, 2, 3. Now they go A. I think they wanted maybe to reset the naming. And they even changed the name of the airport. It's now the name of the ruler, Zayed. But there's not a Terminal B, but that's what I'm saying. There's only one terminal, Terminal A. The shape is, there's a core and 4 piers. That's the base. But instead of doing an X, The shape is kind of a bit wavy, so it's nice. Inside everything is white. There's again wavy. You can see the ceiling is a bit higher and lower. Lots of windows. The arrival transfer was easy. Not a lot of people at transfer security. There's a lot of lanes. I found it weird for something that just opened that they still don't have the newest X-ray machines. The CT scans. They had the old ones, so you had to.
Oh, really? You had to take everything out?
I mean, it's fine. We're still used to that for most airports. But when you have a brand new airport, you're like, why did you not buy it? Maybe it's a sign that it's not a brand. I mean, it's brand new, but it was designed 10 years ago. So maybe that's why, right? And then you take escalators down as soon as you do that transfer security, and you're in this central bit, and there's like shops, and they're super high, and it's a bit confusing at that point, I would say. And you know what I'm going to say because I warned you. Signage. Are there any airports that you find especially confusing, not because of the layout, but because of signage? Or are you, because that's important, a lot of us, again, frequent travelers, we know the airport so well that even if the signage is badly done, we kind of walk through without thinking.
You know what? I think if you notice signage, the problem with signs, it means they're done wrong. And the fact that I cannot come up with any example means probably it was smooth for me. But tell us more, because when we were messaging, right, and you were explaining to me about purple signs in Heathrow.
Oh, that's Heathrow.
Yeah. You emphasized a few times it's in purple. I said, okay, I'll find it. And then said, no, but you know what? I'm more concerned about signs now because I had this experience at Abu Dhabi. So tell us.
I figured it out. I just said I was a bit confused, but I figured it out. But the same when you just said about Wi-Fi, you just said earlier that people build the system and then it seems that they haven't flown in their own aircraft. Well, it's a bit similar here. And again, it's okay, guys. Really, because that airport, I want to maybe headline, that new terminal is amazing. I'm super happy they've done it. So I know it's unfair to start with a quirk, but it's like once you get it, you get it. But the first time, and that's important, the first ever time you step into a new location a new airport, to be a little bit confused means that it's not evident, and it should be evident. Like for me, I will always remember the first ever time I stepped into Doha airport, a new one, so that was years and years ago. They have these huge signs it's not even a sign, it's built into the structure of the airport. There's A, B, C. So even without looking for the sign, you register that direction is Pier A, that direction is Gate B, that direction is Gate C. You know what I mean? So it's implied. At Heathrow Airport, for instance, which is not always great, Terminal 2, they play with the roof. So meaning the parts where the roof is very high with ceilings, it means it's an open plan to walk. And the part of the roof, when the roof is lower, and also if you notice, maybe you'll notice next time, and that's only Terminal 2, I think, when the color of the floor is slightly darker, is to indicate that you need to slow down. So these are all these architectural hints made by designers to basically create path where you're supposed to go and think, maybe now you need to slow down. It's all very subliminal in a way, because there's signage when you need to know where you're going, and there's stuff you create spaces so that people naturally take a path or naturally adapt to the environment. And I found that the airport is pretty big. There's then tall structures within. So there are tall structures within that big airport that kind of obscure so it's both great because having these structures like restaurants, amenities, etc. it reduces the bigness of the airport. So it makes it more intimate. So that's good. However, it also reduces the visibility of the airport. So now where am I supposed to go? I see these big islands of stuff. And I was looking for the lounge. And that's where I want to go. It feels very, again, maybe because of the long wait from designing to actually becoming the main airport. The lounge is located in a very weird way. It's locations are in a very weird location. It's bizarre to get there. Like you go,
Why?
I don't know.
What was bizarre?
When you arrive, You have 2 signs to go to lounges. At first, you don't know. You don't have signs to go to lounges. You start walking on I don't know, left or right. So I shouldn't, by the way. I didn't know. So I took right. And I started walking. And there was like duty free and the usual things. And I'm like, where the hell is the lounge? And you expect the lounge to be one, especially when it's your home airport like Etihad. You expect them to kind of put like a statement. And it feels like it was added very late into the process of designing that airport. So they bolted a lounge on the very side of one of the sides of the airport. And the entrance, you need to walk 6-7 minutes. And there's no grand entrance. There's like a corridor leading to it is empty. There's nothing. There's no shops. There's nothing. And you just walk 4 or 5 minutes. And you're like, is it, at some point I was walking like, is it really the lounge here? I was expecting to be in a location that is like, statement again. Here's our lounge. We finally have our big lounge. And you enter, the lounge is great. I'm going to get there in a minute. But I found this whole, basically it feels like, and maybe I'm totally wrong, and it's really not a diss, because again, headline is a great airport. It just feels that some of the design decisions were either made along the way or changed very late in the game. Maybe when they transferred ownership, maybe that's why it was not open for so long, because they were, fighting about how it should look like. And maybe the original architects had a vision that the new ones didn't share or something, but it feels weird. Anyway, it's still great.
Interesting. Now I want to experience it myself, but I don't know much about how they design airports, but I've watched, as from the previous episode, listeners know I like all this documentaries about crash investigations. I also like airport documentaries, and I watched a few. And before they open an airport, they're supposed to invite a group of people, like a big group of people, right? Specifically for signage. And observe them, how they navigate through an airport. And actually, airport is supposed to make some adjustments along the way based on the feedback from this group. So I don't know, did something go wrong with that group, or maybe they didn't even test the latest version? If you find it confusing, I would want to.
Again, it felt that I was walking into circles. And of course, the second time when I went back, because I'm not going to describe the entire trip, when I went back, then I knew. But then I knew, I said, okay, last time I took a right, so let's take a left after this transfer. That was shorter, but I was still not the most self-evident way. So now, of course, the next time I'll go, this is coming back to what you said earlier, I won't think about it anymore. It's like, I'm going to go directly to the lounge. And I will never criticize this again, because it will feel natural to walk that way. Whereas, again, as the first time, I was like, why? Where? Why? And but let's go to the good things now, because I've done enough. The amazing thing that you would really appreciate, Alex, is that because it's along one of the walls of the airport in that central core, well, it's 3 floors, so it's super narrow, but very long. So it's all the wall, and it's only windows. So basically, you see everything.
My perfect lounge. Is there outside terrace or something?
No.
Okay, it's Abu Dhabi. No.
It's very hot.
I remember my question. Yeah, exactly.
It's very hot indeed. But it's really nice. It reminded me a bit. So it's a bit strange, because the floor when you arrive in is, I think, floor 2. And then the 2 other floors are 5 and 6. But when you go up, you only go up by 1 floor. So I didn't really. Anyway, another signage thing. It's not
2, 5, and 6. Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, but again, the benefit is that the lounge feels very intimate, because it's narrow and long. So people, have to spread out all over these windows. So there's not like a big room when you see everybody else. The first time you go, and thank God the staff was very good. They've always been very good at Etihad. I was like, I didn't even ask. I say, I'd recommend you go to the 6th floor. I'm like, okay. So they know maybe that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I said, okay, whatever. Took the elevator. I didn't realize 6th floor was only 3 stores up. Anyway, that doesn't matter. And there's a bar, and there's a seating, and more seating, and more seating, and more seating. The bar is kind of a centerpiece. It's not that big, but it's kind of a nice centerpiece. But it's nice that it did that. However, it's true that if you go for the first time, and if they don't tell you that, you don't know where to go. But here I'm not criticizing. Here it's more I think the design choice here was to do something that was intimate, You kind of have to discover it. And as you would have done, of course, I walked all over this lounge to see every single bit.
Of course.
It's really nice. There's basically clusters of seating all over the place. But because the airport is brand new, and because, as we said earlier, Etihad is revamping their operation to kind of grow again, not the entire lounge is manned. In some of the outer bits, if you want, of this very long lounge, you see that there's a bar section and you see that there's a coffee machine. There's no one. The coffee machine is, self-serve, so you can still use it, but you can see that it's made for one day they'll have staff there to also cater for the people. But now, because there's not enough passengers, it's empty. So that's a benefit. Though, if you're an introvert, it's great. You're by yourself at the end of the lounge. No one sees you.
And the bar, someone was there. It's not self-serve.
No, of course.
Frankfurt Airport, for example.
And they actually do coffee better than the machine. They do a latte or something with better foam. It's nice. Again, the bar is not that big, which enhances that quality of it not being like these huge lounges, more like a more intimate one. I don't know how. That's the only question mark. It would work if one day truly these lounges become very, very busy. But I liked it. There's not a lot of power sockets. Again, I think, and maybe that's just an inkling. I have no insight into how this lounge was built and how this, the decisions that. But again, that's why it feels that this lounge was not supposed to be there in the first place. And they added it at the kind of late stage of the design, or when they were finishing that airport, because not only its location, I told you, it's a bit strange. And then you have, but nowadays in every lounge, especially new lounge, you have power sockets everywhere. You have USB out, in there, none, very few compared to I think you listened to the episode when I went to the new lounge at Charles de Gaulle, at Air France lounge, T2F. Every table, every seat has both a plug and a USB, and even USB-C. So that current lounges, when they do like a statement, they do that. So again, this one didn't have. Guys, I know it feels that I'm criticizing that lounge, but it's a great lounge.
No, you are analyzing. You are not criticizing. You are just analyzing your observations, right?
I would say it's weird. It feels like the whole design of that airport terminal, but that's the airport because, as I said earlier, everything else is closed now. It has gone through probably some disagreements, some hesitations, which leads to a very, very, look, it's a great airport. I'll be very happy to transfer there again and again and again. The staff are great, super well trained, super nice as well, more joyful, I said, than in the flight actually. But I'm very curious because I love infrastructure plays, as I keep saying. I love the design of these big airports. And I like this is something that makes I'm not sure. Even the naming, you have Terminal A, okay, and then you have also Gates A and B and C and D. So there's two A's. It's not the most clear. Again, for you and me, we don't care, but you're like, anyway, it's not a big deal. But yeah, it's there's a transit hotel, but it hasn't opened yet. But it's again, no matter the signage, it's rather easy to navigate because it's an X basically. So once you enter, I don't know, gates B, you just keep walking B and you'll have all your B gates. It's quite long, by the way, guys. If you are at the very end of the B gates, I mean, they're travelators, but you have to think about it. These are a bit narrow, more narrow than, because you've been, Istanbul, you seem to walk a lot.
Yeah.
These corridors are very big, right? This is more intimate. When I say intimate, I don't want to mean small. The design is clever because it feels that you're not in a huge airport, though it's very big. The one thing I loved, and no one has done it better, is the gates.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's a gate. At the end of the day, it's just a gate, right?
Exactly. So I'm like looking at you like you loved gates. Tell us what was so great about those gates.
You have two types of gates. Obviously, you have the secure gates, like for the UK or for the US when you enter, and you have the normal gates when you just wait in front. And I've done both because returning, I was on I'll tell the story in a bit because the return is interesting. But the gates, they have sofas, rotating chairs.
That's good. That's something new.
Yeah. It felt, so basically every gate felt like a little salon. So it's open, right? You walk next to it. When I say salon, it's not closed off or whatever, but felt like you had people sat in benches that were part of the design of the floor. You had people sat on sofas. You had people sat on reclining chairs. You had people sat on chairs that swivel. Mm-hmm. And it made a feel of, again, it's just a gate, guys, but it's these seats. We're not talking here about the Ritz in London or like a 5-star hotel, but the way it made the gate look fun, I'd never seen that before. Because usually the gate is just rows of seat and you just wait.
Metal seats, very cold and very unappealing seat that you are like, I hope to get out of this seat as soon as possible. Yeah, you're right. I haven't seen anything like this. Yeah,
and power, a lot of power outlets as well.
So they clearly, okay, I have a conclusion here. They don't want, I know you don't want to take this conclusion yourself, I can see. They don't want you to find the lounge. They don't want you to spend lots of time there because you can't really charge your devices. They want you to go to the beautiful gate where you get comfortable chairs and charging points.
I don't want to oversell the gates as you think they're beautiful, but what is interesting is that really, truly, they made a conscious effort into the design of these gates. And I think this is where I should have maybe started with that. This is where, for me, when you backtrack to the lounge, you're like, the gates were clearly designed from the start as being these fun areas, whereas the lounge was it feels like it's a later addition. It's the mismatch. You cannot tell me that you have gates with power outlets everywhere and a lounge where there's a lack of power. You know what I mean? People will take it as a criticism, maybe, but it's more like, I'm very curious, and they will probably never know, but something must have happened in the background of why that terminal didn't open for so long. But the gates, really, and I know it's a detail, but I was like, that gate is fun. Why is it? Oh, wow. I liked it a lot. So it's a win.
Well, you know what? They started building this airport when Etihad was still owner of Air Berlin, at least partially.
Yes.
And you know the story of Berlin Airport, so I see some coincidence over here.
Probably. Look, again, headline and conclusion. Great airport. Very happy. It's not the biggest of the region. Emirates is biggest. Doha obviously is bigger. Is it as impressive as the current Doha? I think current Doha is the best currently, maybe in the world actually, besides Singapore. But it changes the game completely for that airline because you have something where that happily spend 2 or 3 hours. I mean, obviously you and me would happily spend 2 to 3 hours in every airport in the world. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
As a comfortable layover, or even as a comfortable departure point, if you were to visit Abu Dhabi, there's, the Louvre in Abu Dhabi is an amazing museum to see, and the design as well is amazing of it. Fantastic. And they promise, I said it earlier, I don't know if that's true, no bus gates. So it's always jetties.
Let's see.
And that leads me to one thing that happened on the way back. So I'm not going to go, I'm just quickly, just as a brief, I flew a 787-10 to go from Abu Dhabi to Bangkok, the same studio seat, no air events again, great food. Then I flew, so then I was in Bangkok, went to Cambodia, etc. Then on the way back, I was supposed to get a 777 and I got changed to a Dreamliner -9. Not full, was great. Again, I need to say something here. Does it ever happen to you? And then we'll go back to, I'm sitting, nothing special. And then I hear some, arguments. And, again, when you're in business class, it's not as you see the whole thing. So I'm poking my head outside and I see this woman arguing about something with the crew. And I cannot really understand what's happening. And it feels that I'm like, maybe she's requesting a seat change. Anyway, to make the story short, because I learned later what happened. So because we had a change of aircraft, our seats were redistributed. I'm going to be able to say that word, redistributed. And it's true that I lost what I wanted. It was slightly different. It was still, business class, studios. So, the Dreamliners are kind of newer aircrafts. So you didn't lose out on the product. But, because it's a smaller cabin, people had to be reshuffled a bit. And it's not because she was a she, it just happened that she was a she. She didn't want to have anyone that could possibly take a look at her. So the person that was in diagonal from her in the way that she's looking, if she pokes her head, she requested the crew to remove the guy to put it in another seat. Thank God, apparently the guy said, well, whatever, I'll happily sit anywhere. And again, the cabin was maybe 70% full. So happily sat somewhere else. But I was like, that's a very strange request.
It must be really hard to be that person, living the life that you don't want anyone watching you or something.
Exactly. I don't know it was very, 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 very weird. So I don't know. It's just strange, right?
But let's say if it was you in that seat, that she felt you could look at her, know. If the crew would ask you to change your seat, would you do it? I wouldn't.
Look, I mean, in order. So first of all, if I can make something easy for the crew, especially when someone is being disruptive, meaning that we're not going to lose 2 hours arguing about the freaking seat, I will obviously consider it. I'm not like super attached to a seat. Obviously, because like you, I want, if I can, a window seat. So if the other seat happens to be a middle seat, even if it's in business class, I'll be a bit disappointed, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. So, and in that sense, I could say, but what about her switching seats? But apparently, if the person is already argumentative, maybe they want to make it as less problematic for the entire cabin. So yeah, I would consider, obviously, because I want to make, the life of the crew easy.
You're a nice guy. I wouldn't. Honestly, I think because to me, okay, if the request was reasonable, this person really had a reason to ask this relocation, I would consider. But in this case, honestly, I don't want to incentivize her madness. If she doesn't want anyone to look at her, she could fly in cargo hold. So also there, she might have some dogs or whoever looking at her. I don't know.
And I want to reiterate that it's nearly impossible to see the person opposite, in diagonal, because of the layout of the seats. It's not as if it's fully open, right? It's not just... Yeah. Anyway, it was just bizarre, to be honest. He was like, I never had seen... And she was European, and she was argumenting in a mix of Italian and German or some... I forgot, whatever. It was... This is how I understood, actually, what was happening, because...
You know what? Maybe she is one of those who's stealing headphones. Or blankets, or cutlery, or something else.
They probably have cameras and they are tracking her down as we speak. So yeah, back to all the flights, because I want to reiterate, because I don't want people to take the wrong. Etihad was great. Again, the crew was probably a bit more joyful going to Asia and back, but still more restrained. But still, it was very nice. I had great interaction. It was lovely, lovely flights all throughout. And then back to, because that's the last bit I want to say about Abu Dhabi. So back to that transfer, everything. Back to that lounge. This time, of course, I know what the lounge is. So we went faster to that freaking lounge. I knew exactly what I wanted to sit as well. Was, because you and me, we would choose great views. So you would probably, even if I don't tell you where to sit, if you ever are in this lounge, take a picture, send it to me. I'll say probably we'll set very close to, because I found where it's the best view for the airplanes. Mm-hmm. Anyway, when they enter the lounge, I show, like you should do your boarding pass. And I've been told, you can board from the lounge. Aha.
Ooh.
Aha.
That's cool.
So, so I spend my time, I think it was an hour and a half, spend time lounging, some coffee, whatever. And then, again, signage. And I'm like, where is the freaking... So I couldn't find it. So I was supposed to be at gate... I don't remember. I forgot the name of the gate, but it doesn't matter. Like, very close to the lounge, obviously, because if you can board from the lounge, it means that the gate is close to the lounge itself. I couldn't find a sign that gave the name of that gate in the lounge. So I was like I didn't want to exit, obviously, the lounge to get to that gate. So I had to flag down a staff, and asked them, and they told me that, you just continue straight. And if you continue at very tail end on a specific floor of that lounge, you arrive in an area which is close to apparently the first class lounge, obviously, where you can actually directly, but it's not. So that's the thing I would say. Emirates at their lounges in Concourse A in Dubai, they have lots of gates, lots of boarding from the lounge. This one It's more basically at the end of the lounge, you open a door and you directly enter the jetty and you're in the aircraft. So there's no like a waiting area or something. It's just like a nice amenity to have. But do not expect that you have like a waiting area basically in front of that area. You wait literally in the lounge, and when you know it's boarding, you just walk, they open that door and you're straight into the aircraft. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, actually.
It's really cool. I only done this once, actually in Frankfurt.
What?
Yeah, in Frankfurt. I flew to Almaty, and in that terminal, Lufthansa was boarding flight from the
No way.
From the lounge, yeah.
Never happened to me all these years flying.
Well, fly to Almaty, but then I recommend Air Astana, so don't fly.
Well, I've never been to Almaty, as you know, but I've flown Air Astana. I like them. Yeah, it happened to me. Of course, Emirates. Doha doesn't have that, not that I know of. But Haneda, pretty sure I did that. Or was it KIX? So what's his name? Kansai. So Osaka. Basically, I remember I was in ANA lounge and I entered the aircraft directly. It's been a long time. It's pretty cool. It's true.
And this is a good passenger experience. Very good.
Yes, of course. So I've learned afterwards, because I was curious about this boarding from the lounge at Abu Dhabi, that it's only possible for there's only two gates when you can do that. And obviously it feels like, because London is one of their most, or if not their most profitable route, that is one of the two that will almost guarantee you entering from the lounge if you fly to London. I'm guessing maybe the other is New York, because Abu Dhabi is one of these airports that they have the pre-clearance. You can clear immigration, the US immigration in Abu Dhabi before actually. So then when you arrive in the US, you exit. So yeah, I like it. You should go. You should go to that.
I should go. Exactly.
One of you.
Did you want to try like running like Tom Cruise, like on top of the building?
I wish.
You have that scene in mind. Yeah.
I wish. You know, I've looked at the movie again afterwards. Just fast forwarded.
Of course.
Just to see because I was not completely recognizing. It's clear that they've filmed it. First of all, of course, the movie, but before some of the fittings. Because some of the things I was seeing, I'm like, this is not exactly how it looks like now, but probably, they had to clear parts of the area for them to actually have the camera crew and whatever. But it's, I wish somebody could have let me on the roof. I'm not sure it's a good idea. If I would have done it by myself, I would have been arrested or something.
Well, Mission Impossible has like many episodes, right? So you can still apply for the next one that is going to be filmed at some other airport maybe in the world.
Yeah, exactly. What are we almost at the end. Is there any other topic, one thing you want to either say, obviously, or chat about before we close that episode?
I want to have a reason to come back here again, so I will. It will remain unsaid what I wanted to say, but no.
So you're teasing so a possible return at some point. But we'll have you at some point. We promise. As back in the day, we used to release weekly, and then we went for bi-monthly, so twice a month, and now it's basically every 4 to 5 weeks. This was a big jump from the last one, because then Alex told me he needed to take a break, so obviously my schedule got a little bit all over the place. You're the first name I thought. There's three names I thought. As soon as Alex told me, I'm like, I'm gonna get Alex, I'm gonna get Paolo, and I'm gonna get you'll know next time. So these are the names, like right directly. Like I texted you, hey Alex,
and I said yes,
back.
Yes, and yes.
Exactly, 100%. So what are your next flights?
Yeah, I'm going to the US, so flying with British Airways to Los Angeles, so Berlin, London, Los Angeles.
That's the one you were mentioning before. Okay, so go on.
Yeah, so trying BA's premium economy. And
nice.
On my way back, it's going to be New York to Berlin with American, also premium economy. So this research for me is about premium economy, because everyone is saying that, premium economy is like a big money maker for airlines currently. So I decided to plus it was very expensive to book business.
Yeah, it is.
So I think if I have a upgrade opportunity for reasonable money, I might give up my research purposes and
Don't we all?
and experience business. But let's see. These are like this is how I'm getting in and out of the US, and then within US I will be all over the place trying different airlines. So I wanted to try Frontier for a long time. That's going to be Frontier. I wanted to try Spirit, specifically the front, big front seat.
Yes.
Yeah. A few other bright lines. So it's going to be, I will be moving basically every few days.
That's awesome, actually. I'm looking forward to read all about it. I'm going to repeat for the people that want to follow. I mean, I'll put links, I promise you guys.
Yeah, please follow me on LinkedIn, not Instagram. On Instagram, I'm one of these people who observes but never very rarely post anything.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. So LinkedIn. So I'll put the link again in the show notes. So guys, you can find it in the show notes of the podcast. As for me, look, I might be flying in the coming 2 weeks, but I will not tell it on this podcast. First of all, the chances of it happening are low. The reason I'm not telling is because, how do I say that? The security situation of where I'm going is not the best, so I'd rather not tell people in advance that I'm going there. Not that I'm someone that people would hunt me or something, but it's a complicated country to get in. Let's put it that way. And I really want to go. Might happen, might not happen. If in the next podcast or the following one I don't mention it, is that it didn't happen, and so no one of my listeners besides Alex in front of me will have ever learned about where I'm supposed to go and how I'm supposed to go. So
very good. I love secrets.
Yeah, you'll have the secret. I need to do one last thing. Obviously, is put the music. Where is it? There you go. See, it's live again. Like it. Yeah. So otherwise, the next episode will be, so Alex knows it, probably 3 to 4 weeks after the release of this one, which I still don't know when it's going to be released. So I cannot tell Alex right in front of me now when this is going to be released. I'm so sorry.
I might finish my American trip by that time.
When are you leaving? Which dates are you leaving?
9th of May.
9th of May.
I'm coming back on the 20th.
Gonna catch.
And then I might be staying at TWA Hotel for a night.
Great.
I stayed there before, but again.
We need the full report. So see, what she's doing right now is she's trying to force me to have there's a huge trip report that is coming up, and I need to be back on the show.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy that trip. All of you guys, I'm going to say what I always say. Happy flying. What do you want to tell everyone?
Happy flying.
Great.
Bye, everyone.